Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Friday, February 18th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The spring game is in 57 days, the Notre Dame game in 197 days, the game against Michigan in 281 days. The Ohio State football program just landed a very big piece for their 2023 class. Offensive lineman Luke Montgomery from Findlay, Ohio, committed to the Buckeyes on Thursday. He's ranked as a top 50 player overall in the class and the top prospect in the state for 2023, so this is indeed a good get. Buckeye Scoop recruiting analyst Marc Givler was up there in Findlay for that announcement on Thursday. He joins me this morning. This is a guy, Marc, we've talked about several times before, but can you let people know just a little bit about Montgomery and where he projects to play at the college level?
Yeah, well, he's versatile enough to really play any of the offensive line positions. So I think they're kind of recruiting him with that in mind, but I think he's going to get his first shot at offensive tackle. He definitely has tackle feet. Does he have tackle length? I don't know. He's obviously listed at 6'5". He's probably 6'4", but there's plenty of guys who are making it work at 6'4" at offensive tackle. So it's more of a matter of reach than it is maybe height. So that's something I think they're going to try and figure out once he gets on campus. But definitely has the feet and athleticism, play tackle, a tremendous athlete, really good basketball player. Was more of a tight end, defensive end a couple years ago. So he's really just scratching the surface of his potential. But definitely one of the most physically gifted offensive linemen, probably in the entire country for the class.
Yeah, we saw him at camp last June, and he was like just starting to play offensive line at that point. It was very, very raw, but you could kind of, you could see it. It was there. All the athleticism was there, and it was like, well, if he can sort of figure this out, you could really have something here. And, at that point and kind of throughout the recruitment, it looked like it was sort of shaping up as a battle between maybe Ohio State and Notre Dame. And then, like, poof, just like that, it's over. And it was just kind of like all of a sudden you heard these rumblings, and all of a sudden he's got an announcement, and boom, it's Ohio State. So is that maybe an indication that he clicked with new offensive line coach Justin Frye just because of the timing there? Because, I know he was one of the first visits that Frye made after he took the job.
Yeah, I think that was definitely part of it. I thought Ohio State led the whole way for the most part. I thought Notre Dame was making a nice push there. Notre Dame lost their defensive line coach at one point. Ironically, they were one of the only schools recruiting Luke to play defensive line, and so I think that kind of took them out of play. And then it kind of came down to maybe Michigan or Clemson as being kind of the second and third teams there. But I thought Ohio State, was in a pretty good spot most of the way. Justin Frye kind of turbocharged it, I think. I was talking to Luke's dad, Mike, after the announcement, and he called Justin Frye dynamic. So that was kind of an interesting term you don't usually hear for an offensive line coach, I don't think. They're usually pretty, kind of, I don't know, prickly or something. But he called Frye dynamic. They talked every day. When Justin Frye got the job, he talked to Luke every single day. I think like within a day or two of being in Ohio was at Luke's basketball game. And so the family really connected well with them. And, I think another underrated part of this was Kevin Wilson, who was consistently involved from the very beginning with Luke, and who has a relationship with Luke's dad, Mike. Mike played at Miami of Ohio when Kevin Wilson was coaching there. So they had a kind of a long-standing relationship that carried over. And so I think, as I was talking to Mike about some of that stuff, the fact that Kevin Wilson was there to sort of bridge the gap between Greg Stadwara and Justin Frye, I think was a very helpful thing for Ohio State there, that they didn't slip during that maybe short period of uncertainty about, was Stud going to be back? Who was going to be the offensive line coach? And they didn't really have a relationship with Justin Frye. They didn't know Justin Frye until he took the Ohio State job. So Frye worked very quickly here and really made a good impression.
So they took 4 offensive linemen in the 2022 class, and not necessarily the 4 offensive linemen that they were probably expecting to take 6 months before early signing day. So that is a big position of need again this cycle. How many guys do you think they're looking to take on the offensive line for 2023? Because they've already got 2 in-house.
Yeah, it's got to be another 4, I would think. And then it kind of comes down to, look, this is a big year for that class. That I think it's the third year guys at this point. The Grant Toutant, Jacob James class, where they took a lot of bodies, but only Paris Johnson to this point, I think, has and Luke Whippler have really made an impact. I believe it was a 6-man class, so it's a big year for those guys. So you got to see what the attrition maybe is looking like over the next 12 months, especially as they start to set a depth chart in the spring. But I think a minimum 4. I think it probably should be a 5-man class if they can get 5 good ones. And luckily, they've got 2 in-state guys on board already, 2 Ohio guys. There's a third one, Austin Searveld from Lakota East, who could maybe be in the class. So I think that's a good thing for Justin Fry to have this in-state, these in-state options early on. So he's not scrambling trying to compile a 5-man class from out of the state, out of the region. So it's a nice setup for Fry to make a good impression here and to get a good first class in the books.
Yeah, that's kind of like the platonic ideal of a good offensive line class. If you've got 2-3 in-state guys who you feel good about, and then you go chase the 2-3 other guys from out of state. You're not trying to build the whole class out of New Jersey or Texas or Florida or whatever, but you can go get your 3 in-state potentially, and then you go chase Basantis out of New Jersey or whoever else that ends up being this year. The board is still kind of wide open in a lot of ways. But beyond the offensive line room, Luke Montgomery also has a younger brother named Ryan, who is a very sought-after quarterback prospect in 2025. He's already got offers from Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Penn State, among others. Of course, 2025, I will do the math for you. He was just wrapping up his freshman year, so there is still a little ways to go. But, is this something that maybe gives Ohio State a little bit of a leg up at some point in the future? And did you guys get to maybe chat with Ryan a little bit today as well?
Yeah, so, in addition to talking to Luke and Luke's dad, we did talk to Ryan. One thing that, Ryan and his dad both kind of mentioned is, look, it would be nice to play with Luke, and Ohio State's definitely a school that's high on his list right now, and he's got great relationships there, and, they're off to a really good start with him. But with Luke, he can play any of the 5 offensive line positions, so there's all sorts of opportunity there. For Ryan, there can only be one quarterback. It's Highlander. There can only be one. So it just you can't always make decisions based on just the school you grew up following or anything like that. You have to kind of look at depth charts maybe a little more seriously at quarterback. And but he loves the Ohio State offense. He really likes Ryan Day. Has a great respect for Ryan Day as a developer. So they're in a good spot as far as all that goes. And then from there, it's just, okay, what is the quarterback depth chart looking like at some of these places here? And really not so much now, but in 2 years, because he's 3 years away. He's got 3 years of high school left. So there's going to be a lot of things that happen between now and his junior year of high school, as far as the transfer portal and depth charts and who these teams are landing on the recruiting trail in front of him. So he's got a lot more to consider. They're going to probably be as thorough as they were with Luke in terms of taking visits and trying to find the right place. But they all mentioned that they're going to have to look at this one a little bit differently, just because, again, there is only one football and only one quarterback playing at a time. So it's going to be interesting. We joked about, would Luke even let him go to Michigan? Because I know Michigan was kind of his first big offer in a school he likes quite a bit, and he said, Luke might physically restrain him from going to Michigan if he tries to. But he also said he did mention, he said it would be interesting if they were on opposite sides of that rivalry at some point, and how obnoxious Luke would be about bragging rights if he would lose to Luke, in a college game or whatever. So there's going to be probably a 2-year window here of recruiting that's going to take place, and but he's a heck of a talent. He's got some really good early offers, and on the flip side, I would argue, look, how many quarterbacks in the 2025 class has Ohio State seen yet? Probably just a couple. Probably you could count on one hand. So they've got to figure this out too. And I'm sure, if Ryan continues to develop, he's gonna be their top guy. Would make sense. But they're also going to be able to look at some other quarterbacks here the next year or two as these guys develop. So it's kind of still a feeling out process, but definitely a good start with the relationships the coaching staff has with the family.
Yeah, you figure they're going to get a chance to see him a lot, at camps, and he'll probably be down watching a whole bunch of games the next few years. But we saw Sonny Styles spend a bunch of time in South Bend, Indiana, and then choose, because his older brother Lorenzo was there, and then he chose Ohio State. So not a guarantee in the recruiting business. There are very few guarantees that goes probably doubly or triply true if you're talking about guys who were 3 years out. So good luck projecting that. So I'm sure this will not be the last time we talk about Ryan Montgomery. But there are some other names we got to talk about right now. Some other guys maybe to keep an eye on for the 2023 class, because there are a bunch of names that we've sort of talked about over the span of time, and maybe guys who might be next, or some of the next guys to keep an eye on as potential commitments this spring, this summer. Therefore, times like that. I on Twitter I've seen Carnell Tate and Brandon Innes chatting on Twitter about, and those are both names that have been linked to Ohio State in the past. And do we go to what's the move, as the kids say? Could Brian Hartline be on the verge of another incredible wide receiver class with those two guys? Is there anyone else that people should know about at another position right now? What's kind of the next thing to know about 2023 recruiting?
Yeah, I think right now, a lot of the talk is around the receiver group because, look, I think there's a little bit of anxiety about, why maybe Carnell Tate hasn't decided yet. That's been a little bit interesting, I think, to watch from Ohio State's angle. I think they would have maybe thought this would be wrapped up by now, and obviously it's not. I still have them landing Tate, just taking a little longer than maybe anticipated. I don't think he's going to go south. I really still think it's going to be Ohio State and Notre Dame, despite all these new Southern visits he's going to be making and schools he's looking at down there. I still think that remains an Ohio State Notre Dame battle. I think Ohio State's going to win it, but the Brandon Innes recruitment is interesting because they were obviously out when he committed to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley leaves, and now it looks like Ohio State and USC are probably his top two options. And there's a lot of questions about whether or not he would go all the way across the country to USC. And so, with the way Ohio State's recruiting that part of the country in this class, they've got a lot of Florida guys on their board in 2023. They've got a lot of South Florida Express teammates, his 7-on-7 team, that they're targeting in 2023. So I think there's going to be a comfort level there that's going to help them with Brandon Innes. He's going to be back up in the spring, along with a lot of those other guys from Florida that we've been talking about. So that's definitely maybe the hot topic right now. Of course, running back is going to be interesting. Richard Young is still right there for the taking. It's probably Ohio State and Alabama still at the top. I don't think there's been much shift there. That one's probably going to go at least until the summer. That's a kid that could go all the way if he wants to. But still in good shape there. For me, I want to see what the heck they're going to do at quarterback, because they're going to want to take one, but there isn't a guy right now who is both a 5-star type of talent and a guy that maybe Ohio State's in great shape for or leads for or anything like that. So they're either going to have to make up some ground somewhere. Nico Iamaleava is possibly. They're trying to work on him from California, 5-star. Or they're going to have to dig somebody up right now that we're not really talking about. So that's going to be, I think, maybe their biggest thing this spring, now that we're going to have a real spring evaluation period, apparently, for the first time in 2 years, is getting out and finding a quarterback. I think that's a big thing right now. And then again, seeing how these new coaches on defense can put this together. They need to have another good defensive backs class. A.J. Harris is still out there for the taking. Ohio State's not eliminated by any stretch with the Kerry Combs departure, but it's just got a lot tougher. So that's a guy they're working on right now. I think they need to get a visit out of him in the spring. I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to get him up here in March. I really do. And if that happens, I think that's obviously a great sign if that happens, and they can get him around Tim Walton and Perry Eliano. So there's a lot of things to look at right now. I'll throw out another guy, since we started this off talking about Luke Montgomery. The name in Ohio right now is Malik Hartford, a 4-star safety out of Lakota West. Obviously, Ohio State signed 2 guys in 22 out of Lakota West. Malik Hartford, maybe the best of the 3. He's definitely a top 100 type of guy. This was Perry Eliano's top target at Cincinnati, period. That was the guy Cincinnati wanted more than anything. Now they've offered him at Ohio State, of course, since Eliano moved on. And they're really making a move there. He narrowed his list to 7, which, whatever. But he's going to narrow it down to 3 or 4 here pretty soon. That'll give us a better idea of who the real players are. But Ohio State's going to make that list. I'm certain of that. And that's going to be a guy I think to watch for the next few months, see if they can close that one out. That's kind of their next guy in Ohio, I think, now that Luke Montgomery's in the fold.
Mark, it's February. We don't get to scoff at top 7 lists. That's news. That's exciting news in February. That's the kind of stuff we have to talk about. So, well, that'll be big front page news at BuckeyeScoop.com. Something else that was big front page news at BuckeyeScoop.com. We had dynamite coverage on Thursday, if I do say so myself. Marc had his Montgomery impact piece, looking at how Montgomery fits in, where he fits in with the rest of the class, how some of the other names to watch. We didn't even get into some specifics on the names to watch. Some of the other names to watch in the class. Alex Gleitman had a fantastic Around the Oval podcast with Luke Montgomery. You can check that out if you prefer. You can find it at the front page, BuckeyeScoop.com. If you just want to listen to it as a podcast, just search for Around the Oval wherever you're listening to this. And we also had the live stream. Kevin Noon was up there live streaming the whole announcement. So we had wall-to-wall coverage of Luke Montgomery committing. Pretty much had the whole team involved. So good stuff, all at BuckeyeScoop.com. And again, if you want to listen to Luke Montgomery tell you all about it himself, check out Around the Oval. You can find that wherever you find this podcast. You can search Around the Oval or just search Buckeye Scoop. That'll get you all of our great shows. It'll get you Buckeye Weekly that Tony Gerben and I do, Gives in the Bank with Marc Givler, and Build a Bank Green, Around the Oval with Alex Gleitman, Big Me Kickoff with Kevin Noon. They're all there. They're all free, all on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And again, if you want to watch the Luke Montgomery interview, you want to watch the Luke Montgomery commitment ceremony, that's all at youtube.com/Buckeye Scoop. Whenever you watch those videos, hit that thumbs up button. That is a little something you can do that helps us out a tremendous deal. And also hit that bell on that page. That'll help you out a lot, because then you get notified every time we post a new video, so you never miss a thing. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.